is ready for this episode? We are here. It is not Linda Lane and Grub Truck. My apologies. It's only because there's another element I want to add to it, and it's going to take me a little bit. In the previous presentation, I talked about Ms. Martin. With bringing that up, we're going to do tragic deaths of students associated with the University of Idaho. It's been on the back burner. I've been working on it off and on for a few years because of the amount of deaths that have happened between the years of 2018 and 2022. It's concerning. Something happened. There's been a shift because prior to 2018, there were some tragic events, but it correlates with the population size of the university as well as the community, Moscow. But here between 2018 and 2022, that's 4 years. With the amount of deaths is insane. It's bonkers. Especially considering COVID, it was in between this time range. The official time, date, March 11th, 2020. 2021, midway through, depending on where you lived, restrictions started being lifted, parameters put in place, social distancing, and then 2022, we were back to status quo, so to speak, for the most part, with some shifts and changes. When I say associated, I am referring to students who had a tragic event happen to them in high school, come to the university, and have more tragic events happen around them. Some of these events happen on campus or near, and others are those who had graduated, and within a few short years, tragedy happens to them as well. That's our range, and our time frame is 2018 through 2022, which is 4 years. Before 2022 comes to an end, we have 4 students who are massacred and are found in 1122 on November 13th, 2022. I will be using a student from WSU because of the fraternity he is associated with, and I haven't heard anyone really talk about him. Because up to this point, we've only focused on 3 chapters because they are associated with the victims as well as the 2 survivors, which is Alpha Phi, Pi Phi, and Sigma Chi. It's going to be a series because of the amount of deaths and tragedy. We'll look into each victim, look into them a little bit in regards to their socials and who they are, like a brief summary. Look at their obituary and any articles in regards to them, of who they are, and of the event that happened. So it will be like connections, timeline, and dynamics. We're going to bring another element, which is numerology. Numerology and symbolism go hand in hand. When I say numerology, I also mean numbers and sequence of numbers. There are rules with numerology. I know many people don't like it because it can be used as a tool to sensationalize, especially when it comes to violent crimes like this. But with the literature I have read, there are rules which you will follow throughout this video and series. You're going to hear numbers repeated in newspaper articles. You're going to hear specific months used over and over. Just pay attention to the patterns. A lot of people felt in the beginning of this case how it had a ritualistic nature to it, which is not surprising because of the amount of Greek industry influence within this university, and they have their own rituals. They have their own symbols, hand signals, their pin, their crest. Many churches, religions, ideology, cults, hate groups, organized crime, they all have symbols that they associate with, as well as numbers. Something basic as wearing a cross around your neck, to the golden arches when it comes to capitalism. It's part of humanity. They're on cave drawings, for crying out loud, back in the day. So the rules in numerology that I have read in literature that we will follow is there are 2 sets of numbers that are called master numbers, and you do not add them together to make them as one number. Usually what you do is you add up all the numbers until there's one number standing. But when it comes to 1122, those don't get added together. In regards to the number 13, we do not add that one as well. And there is a lot of energy associated with that number 13, negative or positive, depending on how it's being used. So it's a lot of information. Buckle up. I've had to go through this a few times because every time I go through it with like a practice run, I find more information, and it's going to make your head spin. It's going to make your head spin. It doesn't make sense. It feels like Westworld at times, which is a HBO series. I've only watched season 1 because I'm still recovering. It is a mind fuck. So everything is educational purposes only. We do not go and make contact with anyone that we see or hear within this series. We stay as objective as possible and professionalism. So right now I'm going to apply numerology to the victims and the survivors of 1122 on 11/13/2022. And some may have an issue with this, but just hear me out. So we have 2 survivors, Bethany and Dylan, 1-1. Bethany is living in the first floor, and right above her is Dylan on the second floor, 1-1. As you see, they are together, but I have seen many photos of sorority sisters standing next to each other side by side, like 1-1. In particular, that comes into my mind is Liz Katovich and Molly Gray. Next, 2. We have a couple who were dating at the time, Ethan and Xana, who were found on the second floor. Down the hall was Dylan, 1, 2. It's a forever thing. Best friends, Kaylee and Maddie. They were found on the third floor. At some point, Bethany was Maddie's little. Bethany was on the first floor, 1, and on the third floor, 3, Maddie and Kaylee were found. Their front door faces Queen Road, but in the beginning we're told it happened at 1122 King Road. The only rationale that I can think of is that because the front door faces Queen Road, that's your address, that's the norm. At some point in the past, is it possible that where the sliding glass doors are, the front door used to be there? And that's why it was considered King Road at a time. Because in the PCA it says it's King Road residence, which we have to take everything with a grain of salt there. We are also aware that the front door was wide open for many hours, as well as there was a dog present, Murphy. November 13th, 2022, 1113, 2022. So 1113222. 3 twos, because we are not adding those 2 twos together. So 3 twos. Several are aware that there was Venmo transactions done on this night with the number 3. Some were 330. So we have our 1-1, the 2 survivors, 1 male, and 3 females. 2 survivors and 2 sets of victims. On this night, we were told prior that 1 survivor talked to 1 victim, which she didn't know she was going to be a victim at the time. Part of me thinks she did because she was having a reaction to going. She wasn't going to go. She was on the fence of going. This survivor, Dylan, was asking this victim to be her +1 to the Betty Ball. Many of us believe that this was a planned attack. It was planned for a duration of time. We learned that, yes, we all knew that Kaylee had moved out for a duration of time. We don't know when or for how long. But she wasn't totally moved out because some of her belongings were still there. And we learned recently that she and Maddie were not getting along, to the point that Kaylee didn't want her to go to Olivia's wedding, which is her older sister. And it was May of 2022. So did this survivor use that as a rationale for Kaylee to not only be her +1, but maybe mend fences with Maddie? Because in the end, we're told that Kaylee, meaning, she said, you know what, I'm going to go because I want to show Maddie my Range Rover, her new car. The 1 male within this group was a +1 for his sister at that same ball. He also has a +1, which is Xana, and they are missing for hours. It is unknown where they are that day of 11/13/2022. On this day, there are 2 main people who are spoke about the most on this day, as well as in up to this point. On the survivor end, it's Dylan, because Dylan tells the 911 operator there was a man in the house at 4 a.m. There are also 4 victims. And she knows that he saw her because she saw his bushy eyebrows, which could be a symbol of some sorts. Who knows at this point? And a person on the victim end who gets spoken about the majority of the time is Kaylee. Some of it's because of her family in the beginning, and I still believe it now. You know, grief is crazy. But they were advocating for her, as well as the others, but mostly for her. And she had a lot of controversy surrounding her. One is she had a on-again, off-again boyfriend at the time, Jack DeCour, who lived near 1122. They were broken up at the time. She was planning on going to Spain and doing a little bit of a European tour. And she had a job lined up and she was ready to begin in Austin, Texas, which goes into her laptops. She had many. And there was a lot of concern of getting that laptop to that company. She had many bank accounts. She had over $100,000 in one of them, which is a lot for a 21-year-old. There were talks of her having a stalker. She found a missing person before this tragic massacre happened at the Walmart, which that person ended up being found dead in a car or a vehicle in a body of water. We also have this police officer, Rosendahl, take a picture of her ID when he and another officer went to 1122 to pre-warn them of any possible noise complaints, which he did not do to the residents on King Road. Here on July 20th, 2022, it congratulates him for coming back to Moscow because he is from there originally. He spent 2 years as a law enforcement officer in Bellingham, Washington, before he decided he wanted to come home to Moscow and transfer to our department in July of 2022, July 20th to be exact. August 16th is the day of the pre-warning noise complaint. He is also there the night of 1113 to 22, 11/13/2022. He is there at 2:53 per his body cam, all clad in black, in a white vehicle, giving out citations for underage drinking there was a total of 4, but then it was 3. A total of 4 initially, and then it became 3. And they didn't look intoxicated at all. Going back to Ms. Martin. The car accident happened May of 2024. So last year, a few years after that press conference. Here it says, woman who died. Woman who died in fatal crash in Benoit County identified. The 45-year-old Pullman woman who died in a head-on collision Tuesday was identified on Wednesday by the coroner as Destiny Martin. She died at the scene when her Ford Escape, which is an SUV, collided with a Volvo tractor trailer that's pretty large. That's a sturdy vehicle. On U.S. Highway 95, which is a major road. It's talked about in the PCA. And once this highway goes into the residential area of Moscow, it is Nez Perce Road. And it's a long road. A 31-year-old man from Toledo, Ohio, who was driving the tractor trailer, was critically injured in the crash. He was taken via air ambulance to a local hospital. Traffic on the highway was blocked in both directions for 4 hours to allow emergency responders to assist with those involved, according to the news release. The ages of the people involved in the crash were incorrectly reversed in Wednesday's edition because of a daily news error. And I didn't go back and look. So it could be two things. It could be they said that she was 31 and he was 45. Because I really don't see them saying that he was 13 and she was 54, which she doesn't look 54 at all. So that's the only thing I can think of, is they said that she was 31 and he was 45. And I find it interesting that someone in a Volvo tractor trailer gets that injured. I guess it all depends on the speed, the angle, so on and so forth. Because when you just look at here, so this accident expert says dump truck driver accelerated into crash that killed 2 people. And this happened March 12th of 2024. So here's the man. And here is the crash. And that's a dump truck. And dump trucks are large, but so are Volvo tractor trailers. And he crashed into this. And this is definitely bigger than an SUV, but it's also a trailer. So just to give some context there. All right, so next we'll go into the victims of Moscow, Idaho, at the University of Idaho. We're starting right from the beginning of 2018 of the very first victim. She is a sorority sister of Delta Delta Delta, or Tri-Delt. I'm going to put every chapter, their home, just so you can see what it looks like. If you have a particular energy from it, let me know in the comments. She's not in this picture, but here are 2 sisters, and they're wearing their pin. And as you see above the door is their symbol. Her name is Katherine Groggett. She was born May 26, 1998, and she passed on September 14th, 2018. She was 20 years old at the time. Here is her Insta page. There's her name. She goes by Brianne KG95. She has 200 posts, and she joined Insta on February 2013. I put this in because she dances. This is CSI Dance Camp, July 25th, 2015. I put this in here because she gets a full scholarship to the university for dance. Here she is, August 27th, 2017, with her little. Welcome to the baddest and bougiest of the fams. My little, my little. Here, February 11th, 2018, she's here with Ian, who is her boyfriend for about 6 months. Not at this time, but altogether before her accident. Here it says she's in Indianapolis, Indiana. I had the opportunity of a lifetime this past weekend. I spent hours with amazing Greek leaders from across the country and have left with new friendships, an open mind, and so much inspiration. Words can't express how incredibly insightful this weekend has been, but I'm so excited to be home with my Tri Delta sisters. And here, this is October 6th. This is after the accident of 2018, and he writes, "Missing you extra today. I wish I could go back to this trip and spend that day following you around again." He puts a purple heart. What I've learned with these fraternities and sororities is they have an anti-hazing month. These hands don't haze, and they wear purple. Was that done purposefully? It's a possibility. Usually you see red hearts or pink, but he chose purple. He is also a fraternity member of Phi Delt, which is the fraternity that we will be looking more into. Here he is, and here is the Sweetheart Sunday. And here he is, June 10th, 2018, sticking his tongue out. You're going to see a lot of that throughout the series through different males, mostly males. Some females, but mostly males. That's why I put this in here, as well as voodoo donuts. I've got issues with that. I can do a series on that or just a video on that if you like. And this is her last post, which is September 12th, 2018. The accident happens on the 14th, 2 days later. Already brainstorming our next adventure. Which, never mind. So here's his fraternity. Just wanted to show this, as well the street view. So she gets hit by a Dodge Durango, and she is going into the Clearwater River Casino and Lodge, which is 34.8 miles south of the university, 37 minutes. So here is Nonstop Local, KHQ. 20-year-old woman killed in Highway 95 crash east of Lewiston. And this was published on September 14th, 2018. And it was updated on November 28th, 2018. Idaho State Police say a woman is dead following a crash on Highway 95 east of Lewiston Friday afternoon. The crash happened at about 1:05. Investigators say a white 2000 Dodge Durango, driven by 23-year-old Wesley Twitchell of Winchester, Idaho, was headed northbound when a red Toyota Corolla, driven by 20-year-old Katherine of Mountain Home, Idaho, was stopped at a stop sign on Nez Perce Road. She entered the roadway, turning left onto southbound Highway 95, when he struck her on the driver's side. She was pronounced dead at the scene of the crash. He had a passenger, and she had two. Devontae Smith, he has written 2 articles in the Argonaut and has become part of the theater program at the university. Brianna, I want to say she did not go back. I could be wrong, but I do see on her Facebook that she has now been since married, and she does post Catherine's fundraisers to spread awareness. And those 3 were taken to St. Joseph Regional Medical Center in Lewiston for treatment. All those individuals were wearing seatbelts. And here we have the Moscow Pullman Daily News. And this was published on September 17th, 2018. Katherine Groggett died Friday while navigating entrance to Clearwater River Casino. So it says here that she was entering the Clearwater River Casino and Lodge outside of Lewiston, was a junior at the University of Idaho, and so therefore she was the president as well, which that's pretty accomplished. And if you remember that Kaylee was an executive board member and Maddie was the PR and marketing of her sorority. According to media release from the Idaho State Patrol, she is from Mountain Home, and she stopped at the stop sign turning left onto Highway 12, and then she was struck on the driver's side of a 2000 Dodge Durango. See how they didn't put white. The 2 passengers and the one and the other were sent to the hospital. A GoFundMe has been started to raise money for her memorial service, which you would think that would be done by the sorority since she was the president. So here are the stats of the money that they have raised. She was in the dietetics program, actively involved in dance in the community, but she was a friend to all. So I brought this up because of this right here. Numerous fatalities and injury crashes have been reported near the casino, and despite efforts to make it safer, dangerous and often fatal crashes continue. The Idaho Transportation Department installed a road island at the west entrance to the business in an effort to prevent vehicles from turning left out from that entrance to head east and across 4 lanes of highway. Even with signage in the road island, drivers often can be seen crossing both sides of the highway to head east. The east entrance of the casino is unblocked, and crossing the 4 lanes of highway to head east is allowed there. Multiple crashes and all of the most recent fatalities have occurred at the west entrance. So the majority of those fatalities and accidents happen on the east. They put all this extra safety measures to help prevent it, but she ends up dying from a car accident on the east end when the others happen most on the west end. No citations or arrests were made in relation to Friday's fatal accident, which, when I looked up the male who caused the crash, there were tickets, but they were dropped. I just had to be petty there for a moment. So, how in the world did it get to there? Do I have to do? Oh, that's why. All right, so there we go. And we're going to read a little from this one because this is one where they speak to one of her sorority sisters. So, loved ones remember Katherine. This was published on September 26, 2018, and updated 10/4/2018. I just noticed that now, 10/4. You'll see. So here we go. Before she departed for what would be her last trip home, Katherine left a sticky note on the desk of her roommate and close friend, Brianna Garrow. So I don't know if they're talking about her going to the casino or her last trip home prior to that. The end of the note read, "Life throws curveballs when we least expect them, but they pass with time and a lot of love." The note was signed with a heart. It's weird. Even when she's gone, she knows what to say. I've been keeping that note in mind. Whenever I get sad, I think of it. She would want us to mourn, but she would want us to carry on. I just been thinking of that, and it's gotten me through. So Garrow brought it with her when she and the University of Idaho Delta sorority chapter traveled south to Boise for her celebration of life. And then she gave it to the bereaving parents. She is the youngest of 3 siblings. We went through this with the nutrition. She had the full ride scholarship for dance. Here she says whenever she and Garrow, her roommate, would go out to parties together, Katherine would liven up the room. She would just be the goofy person with me. Even though she was in the dance program, every time we went to a party, she could not dance to save her life. I don't know what it was, but she was just the goofiest person. Another example of her giddy nature Garrow offered was a time during their sophomore year at UI, in which the two drove up to Moscow for the Treasure Valley separately. From the Treasure Valley separately, but still together in spirit. We were in separate cars, but we had these walkie-talkies, and we talked the entire 6 hours up, Garrow said. We were just singing back and forth on the walkie-talkies and making weird comments about what we saw, and we played I Spy. We weren't together, I was in front of her, but we were having a really good time. And so when I said that 10/4, that's what I thought of with the walkie-talkies. So they're going to U of I, and they have walkie-talkies. A thought that came to my head was, are those fraternity or sorority issued walkie-talkies? It's a thought. And here she talks about how her significant other of roughly 6 months, Ian, said she was always letting others around know how much she cared for them. Even in hard times, she tried her best to stay positive, and that's probably one of the best things I admired about her. So here's ISP, and this is on the 14th. And I want to say the only difference real quick is they also say white 2000 Dodge Durango. But here they say the northbound traffic was blocked for 3 hours. Here's the Argonaut. Nothing different there. And here is her boyfriend's Insta page, Ian McGungle. I don't know how to say it. I don't want to say it wrong. But his account is based out of France. And he joined in 2012. And looks like now he is a model. And when you look at his pictures on his Insta, he definitely is a model. But what is interesting about his is that this is his first post on Insta, which is September 9th, 2018. So did he clean up his Insta up to that point? Not only that, this is October 9th, 2018. The accident happened September 14th, 2018, and he is in Los Angeles, California. Can't wait to be home with my pup in my own bed. Till then, making memories in the city of angels. So did he just book it out of town after that? Was he spooked? Was it grief? It could be many reasons. Because looking back through his Insta, when it comes to the tagged, the earliest is 2016. And here he is, being goofy. And here is October 25th, 2017. And it says, so incredibly grateful and stoked to have you both, my pledge dads, Ian and Hunter. Looking forward to being twins with you too, Jiffy. Had a fantastic night with you guys. Pledged, Phi Delt. So here it says Jeff, son, dad, Ian. So this is his little, and I'm going to say that's Ian. This Ian is grandpa. And the third tagged is here with Katherine. Okay. So that was Katherine. Tridelt, president of Tridelt, Junior, going to this casino at 1 o'clock, 1:05. I'm sure there's other things to do at the casino. We've all been to casinos, the majority of us. They have spas, they have restaurants, so on and so forth. She has a boyfriend who ends up being a big model. He leaves shortly after that to go stay in Los Angeles. May have just gotten a contract at that time. It's just the timing of it. Walkie-talkies, 10-4. As I said, a lot of information. The next is Richard Sims. Now, even though it's July 15th, 2022, it is out of order, but I did it this way because of connections. So he was born December 3rd, 1997, and he died July 15th, 2022. July 15th is right before Rosendahl goes back to Moscow, and then the noise complaint or threat of you better not be making any noise complaints at 1122. So this is where it's going to get a little much. So here I'm just pointing that out. Katherine, September 14th, 2018. So that's the beginning of this timeline of these students having these events. And he is towards the end, or the beginning of the end, July of 2022. So here they are together. December 2, 2017. Thank you for putting up with my wild dancing and cheesy pictures. Formal season. And we were just talking about how she's not the best free dancer, so to speak. So this is the Idaho statesman, Richard Allen Sims II. So he was born December 3rd, 1997 to July 15th, 2022. Caldwell, Idaho. Richard was born in Caldwell, Idaho, to G. Dar and Jody Fast Sims. Although named the second, he was the fourth Richard Allen Sims, named after his grandfather. He was beloved, smart, athletic, and determined. At age 6, he began working at Sims Fruit Ranch in the cherry orchards and was joined by his siblings Eva and Thomas, and had many cousins and friends as they came of age. Throughout grade school and high school, Richard excelled academically. He was president of his senior class and graduated as a valedictorian from Homedale High School. He played on a very good Homedale football team and medaled many years at the state track and field meets. He also enjoyed music and became an accomplished guitar player. So he is multifaceted. That is dangerous. Jealousy. Richard was popular and had fun with his many wonderful friends in high school. Richard attended the University of Idaho and graduated with a degree in information technology in 2020. He joined the Beta Theta Pi house where he lived during his time in Moscow. Richard held various leadership positions there and mentored many young men. Spring semester of his junior year, he studied in Salamanca, Spain, where he learned to love traveling in Europe. The family joined him at the end of the semester for a brief tour of Spain, just as Dar's family had done 34 years earlier. College summers, Richard worked in Kansas and in Nebraska, selling pest control treatment programs. Those who know, know. And we'll be going through that a little. Richard had a great way with people and managed to excel in door-to-door sales. Richard was enjoying his senior year at the U of I when the school closed due to COVID. The lockdown canceled many of his plans, including a trip to Europe and some career ideas. He spent most of the last 2 years in San Diego, where he worked in sales. Again, he excelled and would help train new sales reps, showing them the correct way to do things. Richard made many close friends in San Diego as well. Richard is preceded in death by his grandfather, and private funeral services are pending. Donations can be made to your favorite charity. And this is sponsored by the Idaho Statesman. So, given the fact that COVID was going on during that time, many people had a hard time adjusting with COVID and the lockdown. Many of those were extroverted in nature. Us introverts, we were having the times of our life. We were loving it. I was loving it. I was thriving. I got a degree. I was working on my next one. I love it. Loved it. But others had a hard time adjusting. And with my medical background, may have helped me more than others to understand what was going on. And I do have a family member who had a hard time with it because of the tragedy that he had to, I don't think he dealt with very well. And so having this huge uncertainty can really mess with people. And that is understandable. With that being said, though, the amount of suicides that are surrounded this university is concerning. If Greek life is so amazing, it's so great, and these people are so amazing and so loving and wise, and everyone around them just loved them and they were such a light, what is going on here? Well, we have learned that there is lots of hazing and sexual assaults. It's a very unhealthy environment, which we've learned that through the thesis of ritualistic apologies. And we've talked about the mental health of it, how it can be scarring being within these fraternities and sororities. So it annoys me when they talk about, oh, we need more mental health, and they're the source of the mental health more than likely. So here is Beta Theta Pi. And this is on their website. It says, on July 15th, for Richard Sims, Idaho 20, tragically lost one of its own. Richard Sims, Idaho 20, at the age of 24. Brother Sims passing should remind us of all the mental health struggles so many of our band continue to endure. It is important for us to be our brother's keeper, to deepen the conversations on mental health in order to decrease stigma and protect the futures of betas like him, who have the world at their fingertips. This week especially, the fraternity holds the Idaho chapter close to their hearts. Having similar lost Richard's little brother in the fraternity, Max Fulfer, 21, in 2019. My brother Richard Allen Simmons II, roll number 1996, on the official roll of the Gamma Gamma chapter, rest in peace, forever in Chi. Now, why this is significant? Because I could not find anything on Max Fulfer until I read this about Richard Sims. So, Max Fulfer, I just get a range of 1990, and his death happened March 25th of 2019. I can't even find a date of birth. And it gets much stranger. But first, we have Katherine, 2018. We now learn Max is 2019. And then 3 years after that is Richard in 2022. And this is not Max, it's just a picture. So, let's read about Max. So March of 2019, and here Beta Theta Pi posts in April of 2019. April 13th, 2013. 4/13/2019. Forever in Chi. Today, as his family, friends, and Gamma Gamma chapter brothers gather to memorialize his life, the fraternity grieves the expected passing of Max Fulfer, Idaho 21, a sophomore. Max is remembered for his character, selflessness, intellect, and love of the outdoors. Words can express how great of an impact Max left on this world, nor how much he will be missed, remarked Grant Hill, Idaho 19, recruitment chairman for Max's pledge class. Older brother to Kai Fulfer, Max is also survived by his mother Erica and beta father Clay Fulfer, Idaho 87. So here we have legacy. Longtime House Cooperation volunteer and recruitment advisor. So he is involved within this fraternity still. And he had one son in the fraternity, he's going to have another as well. Consistent with fraternity protocol, flags at the administrative office in Oxford have been lowered to half staff and remain so for the next 8 days. Representative of the 8 young men of Max's same age who founded the Fraternity on August 8th, 1839. So there you go. Now I just realize that's his date of birth. Is August 8th. So 8/8. But we don't have a year. Wouldn't that be wild if it was 1983? Of ever-honored memory. Beta chapter houses across North America with flagpoles are encouraged to do the same. Likewise, pink and blue flowers have been delivered on behalf of all betas to Max's memorial service, which will be held today at 1 p.m. at the Cathedral of the Rockies in Boise. All 138 chapters and colonies are encouraged to conduct Beta's official burial service in Max's memory at this week's upcoming chapter meeting. Uniting in thoughts and prayers from around the world as the Fulfer family grieves this incredible loss. Betas everywhere are comforted by Max's philosophy on life, words he shared so eloquently with his father. At the most basic level, the entire universe consists of only two things, light and love. The most important of these is love. May Brother Max Fulfer, roll number 2017, on the official roll of the Gamma Gamma chapter of Beta Theta Pi, rest in peace, forever and Chi. So I want to say this forever and Chi is based on the fraternity, and Clay ends up naming one of his sons Chi. So here he is. He's a cute fella. Here's his LinkedIn. Not much is on there at all. Nothing at all. Here is another Beta Theta Pi. This is the following year, March 25th, 2020. So this is after COVID has shut everything down globally. Today we remember our brother, Max Fulfer, who passed away 1 year ago today. Max was a light in the life of so many and was so loved. His smile was infectious and his wisdom was unmatched. Above all, he cared for others so much and once said, "I want to be a better me for everyone else's sake." Whew. That's a lot. His memory will live on forever within the hearts of his family's friends and Beta brothers. We ask that you all keep Max and his family in your thoughts today. So, and then they have here some shirts in his honor. All right, so this is Cole Bennett. I talked about him in one of my previous videos with Linda Lane. He's in marketing the same time that Maddie was, and people believe he's involved in this in some way. But we'll go back to that. All right, so I had to pause for a second for a personal reason, but I hope I'm in the right spot of where I left off. If I'm not, it's because I had to leave for a few. But I want to, older brother to Kai Fulfer. We're going to look at his Insta and LinkedIn, but I want to show you how difficult it's to find any information on Max that has his date of birth. So here, Max Fulfer, about 1990 to 2019. Born about 1990, uncertain, location unknown. Died March 25th, 2019, at about age 29. In Nez Perce, Idaho, United States. So this is WikiTree. And could it be why there's no information about him? Because of his affiliations with that fraternity. His dad's a part of it. He's got a younger brother. And we learned that, yes, he did pass in 2019 through his big Richard Sims, who passed in 2022 at the age of 24. So he's definitely not going to be 29. He's not going to be older than him. So 18, 19. And this is 22. He's younger than Richard Sims. What did I write that down? So no, he could not have been born in 1983. But we got his date of birth of 8/8 because of what was said in regards to beta. And he has an older brother. So it says here he died March 25th, which is correct, 2019, which is correct, but not at the age of 29. If Richard Sims was born in 1997, it could be that he was born in 2000, and that would make him 19. So here, so if I visit Facebook, this is what pops up to show, but then it goes away. And that's with all of these right here. This one, as well as this one. Here is his LinkedIn. Student at University of Idaho, so it has not been updated. So he says here, I have extensive personal experience in climbing, rafting, biking, backpacking, skiing, and running. My individual interest in these ventures allow me to better relate to customers and my appraisal of what their needs are and how I can be of a best service to them. And he hasn't posted anything. And it says he was at the University of Idaho between 2017 and 2019, or excuse me, 21. So we can do some bookkeeping. So when he hits any of these in Facebook, it just shows the beta pi information, and that's it. And we had the WikiTree. Here we have him. Uncertain about the date of birth. We went through this already. And here is another. So those are the only two photos I can find of him being that young, except for this one. And let's, oh, that one too. So let's go to this right here. So here is his page, but it says he has 243 friends. And I was on this the other day. And now when you go to friends, it has now changed to this, which is so strange. So strange. Because the reason why I bring up Cole it's because he is friends with him. And it's one of the few that's on there. So, and many believe that he has something to do with what happened at 1122. So, now I need to know that the next time I go on these types of accounts, just to start screenshotting them. Because his poster's still here. The only thing that's strange, because that definitely looks like him, is this one. Updated his profile pic, and it says Young Max, James Drake. So I don't know if that's a joke, but when you see all photos, there is this one, which is on Cole Bennett's as well. And I want to say that's him right there, Max Fuller. And this is the same fraternity of... Actually, you know what? I don't think Cole's in this one because this is August 16th, 2017. And that is a well-known date for us with the body cam at 1122. And this is on the same day, but different year. Oh, same year, 2017. March 20th, 2018. Goat Lake, happy belated B-Day, my friend. So I don't know, because they made it sound like his birthday is August 8th in reference to show about beta. So let me write that down. Before something else happens. But that definitely looks like Max. Okay. And I went through these earlier, and no. Oh boy, here we go. Beta mental health to the max. Does it have a date on here? Because it looked like they just recently did this. Created March 30th of 2025. So, moving on to his brother. Kai Fulfer. Kai Fulfer, just a boy who loves knives. Follow my mane at Pillow Dreams. Now he is also in the fraternity. October 25th, 2017. Same day, same year. October 25th, 2017. January 24th, 2018. Wow, just wow. January 24th, same day. Just a couple of juicy blades. I would murder for these, January 24th. I know there are people who collect knives. Just keep that in mind. And there is a craftsmanship to it. And some people really enjoy knives. But where is the line? And yes, I understand there's a demographic, and that is considered normal. It's part of the culture. But if the culture is beating your wife within your family or within your town, that does not mean it's okay. That does not mean it's right. That's why I don't like, on an extreme level, that Voodoo Donuts place, because it crosses lines. And people don't know where the line is until it's too late, or they do cross a line and people are aware of it and they allow them to get away with it. And that's hazing, sexual assault, so on and so forth. So having pretty much a page dedicated to knives, and you're not selling them, or if you're saying I'm a collector, you make it known, you make it clear. That's one thing. With that being said, and he is part of that community and that area, you can have someone like this who has these types of knives in that time and place, possibly, but they're looking at the defendant who is in a different state that may have purchased one or did purchase one on Amazon. That's what I'm trying to get at. Here we are, the 24th again. Squirting. It is rustic and it's got some tails there. Holy Knackers. Ay Caramba. On the 26th. Goddamn. At Hunter Street. Thanks, Home Slice. That's a good looking knife, bro. First like. This one's sweet. Nice dude. Same day. I'm on it. This is January 26, 2018. Post or I'm unfollowing ya here. Hunter Street, I like a man with a big knife. Damn vegan. Wow. And here's some like hatchet type blades. January 26, 2018. Holy shit, that's a nice karma bit, bro. No comments. January 26, 2018. That's quite a knife. Right there, that's a long blade. That looks like they can do a lot of damage. This is definitely the most beautiful knife ever. And I agree, it is beautiful. But you add some shotgun 12 gauge right there with some leaves. Maybe he is selling them. Which that does make sense if the background is the way that it is. This is insane. Nut. Shit's dope. Why I want to fuck that knife. So it could possibly be that he's just selling them. And then this is his at Pillow Dreams. Here he is. He has 2 posts, but he is private. August 2013. Here is his Facebook. Studied at the University of Idaho, went to Boise, lives in Boise, from Boise. He has one picture. And this is February 28th, 2022. That looks like Cole. This looks like Jack. Yep, there's Jack. Possibly Adam. And let's look at friends. And no friends on here. All right, and his Lincoln. So mechanical engineering student at the University of Idaho. So his experience is a little strange. Ski technician, concrete placing, batch plant operator, fish processor, fisherman's finest. So he is working 16 hours shifts for 55 days straight out of Dutch Harbor, Alaska. I skillfully packaged processed fish adhering to precise industry standards. And he worked there for 3 months. May 2023 to July 2023 for 3 months. So here they say he started in August of 2021 and he graduated in May of 2025. So he just graduated. Okay, so I just learned about him just right now, real time. It makes me want to go through that fraternity to see throughout. Hopefully, I'll be able to do it sooner than later in regards to once this has been uploaded, I'm going to have to go do it right away. So, moving forward. And when I tell you that Facebook page, which was the only one of Max, had the friends on there and now they're gone. He was one of the friends on there. So Cole Elliott. Here he talks about mental health in regards to Max. And this is 2018. Here he is. So if Max Fuller passed in March of 2019, he should be in here. Which I don't see him. And that could be many reasons why. So here is Beta, Idaho. And I mentioned already Jack and Adam. And this was not one of the major fraternities I was looking into. I'm going to now, especially when you have all those knives. And the way that Max, his information is very quiet. And the information that we are able to find is sus. But at the same time, it could just be crossed over with information. It could be just one of those AIs where it just grabs information like Google does with that, it's like a family tree. So here they have building men of principle for a principled life at UI since 1914. And Maddie and Xana do follow this fraternity on their socials. Here's the house. I don't believe I put a street view because that was a good view. So this is Echo Shield. In regards to Richard Sims talking about how he went door to door to sell bug spray products to get rid of bugs. And this is Jesse Holsick, Austin, Texas, which is where Kaylee was going to move as well. You'll see this name a lot throughout Jake Alt Official. Extremely proud of you, brother. It's been awesome to see your transformation, and Maddie liked it. So here is Echo Shield Pest Solutions. Pest-free happy living starts here. No shit. One of these companies knocked on my door today. And here is Echo Shield. To me, this looks like Jack Showalter. This is August 17th, 2023. And here is Elijah Swoop. We'll talk about him a little because of his family. Here is Jesse on December 6, 2021. Here's Xana Rara. And here she is. Bethany. Kayla. I want to say that's Molly. And here's a more recent picture, July 8th, 2024. Austin, Texas, sticking his tongue out, wearing the pea hat. Eli Schwoop, keeping the dirty South dirty. This guy fucks. Okay. So the Bahamas, and here is Lake Campbell. Looking good, hola. Miss you, brother. You're the man. So I'm going through this, even though he's not one of the victims, but he is part of the connections. So here is Jake Schwoop. Now Jake here puts Montana, Idaho, Oregon. And here Eli Schwoop says Q4 trips to the high desert. Q4 meaning those, like those buggies. I don't know what to call them. Q4s. We saw those in Nevaeh's Vasco with Kaylee. And Schwoop Bridge Campground. Now, his name was floating around in the beginning of this case. I want to say they're cousins, and they're not brothers. Proud would be an understatement. Jake Schwoop, thanks, bro. Happy 22nd, old man. So this is Schwoop Hall, and many people were talking about him because he comes from money. Schwoop Hall is named after his family, and it sounded like he was going to be working at the same place that Kaylee was working at. And this you have to take with a grain of salt. But here is Jake Schwoop, and he is a member of the Phi Tau. Here he is at the formal, and this is March 4th, 2019. Why I'm bringing this all up together is because of the connections. So 4 students injured after structure collapses at University of Idaho Fraternity. I know a lot of people on campus that have been shocked by it. It was just chaotic all at once because no one was really expecting it to happen. So this is October 10th, 2022. And updated October 11th, the next day. Let's say a month and a couple days is when 4 more students get stabbed to death in 1122. Saturday night ended in a disaster for one University of Idaho fraternity. How about for the victims? Not so much at the fraternity. A raised platform built by UI Phi Kappa Tau fraternity members collapsed and subsequently injured 4 people. The platform that collapsed was 6 to 7 feet tall, said Brian Nickerson, Moscow volunteer fire chief. First responders arrived at the scene around 11:30 p.m. Nickerson said the 4 injured people were taken to Gritman Medical Center in Moscow. One of the 4 was later flown to a nearby hospital because of severe injuries. So here is George Laird Shoup statue, which is in D.C. at the National Statuary Hall, Idaho Shoup. And so here's some information about him, 1836 to 1904. And he moved from Virginia City to Montana. Then he went to Idaho. Where he did merchandising, cattle raising, and became a successful businessman in the Intermountain West. He gets married. He has 3 sons and 3 daughters. He served as county commissioner in 1869, county superintendent of schools in 1872, lower house territorial legislation 1874, upper house in 1878. He was delegated to the Republican National Convention in 1880 and served from 1880 to 1884 and then 1888. He was appointed commissioner to the World's Cotton Centennial at New Orleans. Yikes. He contributed $35,000 out of his own pocket to make it possible the first display of Idaho Territory's products in the East. So he is an American politician who served as the first governor of Idaho, in addition to its last territorial governor. He was born June 5th, 1836 in Kittanning, PA. He died in Boise, 12/21. Look at that, 12 and then 21, 1904. 3/3. 10/14/5. Previous offices: Senator, Governor of Idaho Territory. 6 children, Republican. So I'm bringing this up because we were just talking about Beta, Idaho. Let me go back to refresh because we talked a lot of other things. Right here, Beta, Idaho. This is the same as Jack DeCoeur, Adam, the mysteriousness of Max Fulfer, and then his brother. Instapage with all those knives. And he had a recent pic of him being there in 2022 of February. And it looks like he just graduated. I'm going to look a little bit more into him. So, in regards to Beta, Washington, D.C. I'm bringing this up because of the political ties and the power that these fraternities have. So here we are, Beta Idaho and Washington, D.C. Bigger than Beta, Tanner McLean, PC 20, intern in the office of U.S. Senator James E. Risch. As an intern for Senator Risch, I assisted the office through various roles. My responsibilities included in communicating with constituents, legislative research, and assisting with office needs. Interning on Capitol Hill was a truly unique experience that I will never forget. As an intern, I was able to watch committee hearings and attend many of the senators' meetings. This internship gave me countless lessons and opportunities to network in DC, during which I built meaningful and professional connections across the country. Josh Hengeler, PC 20, management intern at Columbia Electric Supply. So, that's quite a big deal to have that opportunity. And if you watch any of the Karen Reed case this past week with with forensic data, and this was in regards to the car, and the state's expert lied on his resume and said he was pursuing his bachelor's, and that was 17 years ago. First of all, I don't care if you have a degree or not. There are many, many, many smart people out there who don't need a degree and can really succeed in life through many different various skills. The point of it is that people like us, like me, who have an education and take that seriously and work hard for it, because it's not easy getting one. It's tough. Especially if you are a hands-on learner like I am. That's why I'm in the medical field. But getting my bachelor's and my master's, that was all online. And it was very difficult for me. It was an adjustment. It's about lying about your credentials. That's what it's about. It's not okay to lie about that. It's a slap in the face to those who work hard for their degrees. It's not trying to say we're better or anything. That's not what it is. It's just the fact of having that integrity and that ethic. And my point being is that people like this and people like him who have connections and networking, which is great because part of the society we're in, and people say it's not about what you know, it's who you know. And some people take that as a degree. So now you have these people that have these networks and are able to be a part and have these opportunities, but kind of are shitting it away and being unethical. That's what we, people like us, get annoyed about. So here is Beta Idaho. We are excited to welcome 21 young men to the Gamma Gamma chapter of Beta Theta Pi. And this was August 25th of 2019. And here is Jack. Let me size it up a little bit. So here's Jack. Here's Alada. That looks like Cole right there to me. And here is Adam. Senior Spotlight, March 7th, 2023. And he has 333 likes. Beta has given me friendships and opportunities that will last after my college years, for which I will be forever grateful for. So exercise and science. So it looked like he went back to school, because here in 2021, he's a sophomore. And that's in 2021. 2022, he would be a junior. 2023, he would be a senior. So it says here, I ran for rush chair to help display all of the great things that Beta has to offer, not only during college, but for a lifetime. I have made countless memories and found my closest friends in this house, and I want PC21 to experience all that and more. I am stoked to get the opportunity to meet the PNMs and show them what we are all about. All right, so this is Haley King. And she was born October 8th, 1999. And she passed on August 28th, 2020. So I'm thinking of that about COVID, which was March 11th, 2020. So we have September 14th, 2018, March 25th, 2019, and then it would be the following year is Haley King. Hers is September 4th, 2020, while Katherine was September 14th, 2018. 2 years later, 10 days before. Hers is by a car accident. And Haley King is a car accident as well. So here, Sigma Chi, Haley was the most generous, kind, and loving person you'd ever meet. Her love for other people was something truly special, and the world simply won't be the same without her. Her presence will be missed, but the life she lived will never be forgotten. If you are someone who can assist her family with her medical bills, it would mean the world. The GoFundMe link is in our bio. So here is her full obituary. Former UI student, 9/24/2020. Updated 2/12/2021. Two 2021 was when it was updated. So let's look. So, before departing on her trip home, Haley King said goodbye and hugged her friend Asia Mond on Delta Gamma's front lawn. Katherine was Delta Delta Delta, and Delta Gamma they're separate. Mom didn't know it at the time, but this would be the last time she saw her old soccer teammate, who is called a sister. We told each other how much we loved one another and just hugged for the longest time. I am thankful for that moment. I wish I could have hugged her a little bit longer that day, but I know King knew how loved she was. King, a senior studying animal and veterinary science, died August 28th, from injuries suffered in a car crash 7 days earlier. So it wasn't near September. Apologies. A member of the University of Idaho Delta Gamma sorority chapter, King was known for being well-rounded, compassionate, and above all kind. According to her family friend Lori, the first thing you notice about King is how much she valued those around her. One summer, King was showing a sheep for the first time at Caldwell Rodeo. I was so proud of her. She did so well. She found out the fate of the sheep after the sale, and she was heartbroken. Yeah, that's sad. Chris Reynolds, King's high school soccer coach, shared a story of her resilience through a photograph. The picture shows King on the field in her white Kuna soccer uniform, sporting a black eye and bandage from a collision with an opposing player in high school match. When I ran out to King on the field, I was concerned about her well-being. She was concerned that she was bleeding all over her white uniform. King never missed the practice. The day after the collision, she caught a you should have seen the other guy jokes for the teammates. While King made out with the black eye and stitches, the other girl lost several teeth. Oh my gosh. Ouch. That soccer team where Mond first met King served as the ignition for their friendship. After going their separate ways later in high school, the two reconnected at UI on the first day of fraternity and sorority life recruitment. The two remained close friends until King's death. King was always quoting funny movies and doing TikTok dances. When I picture King in my head, the first thing that pops up is her big blue eyes as she dances and around and sings country songs with me. She showed everyone how to live life beautifully. So here, single car crash near Midvale and Cambridge leaves one dead. The driver of the vehicle overcorrected, causing the car to roll over. And this is published on August 29th, 2020, and updated the same date and time. And that could just be an error. So Idaho State Police is investigating a single vehicle crash that occurred on August 22nd near Cambridge and Midvale. The driver involved in the crash passed away on Friday. Why are we not doing the day? And they don't, usually. So 20-year-old Kuna resident Haley King was driving north on US 95. When she drifted off the right shoulder of the road, King then overcorrected into oncoming traffic, causing her to overcorrect again, according to the police. The vehicle rolled over into the northbound lane. Police said King was wearing her seatbelt. Gotta make sure you put that in. King was taken to St. Alphonsus Regional Medical Center in Boise on August 22nd. She passed away on Friday. ISP is still investigating the crash. So so here I have Cambridge, Midvale. So this route starts in Cambridge on Superior Street, and the ride goes south on US Highway 95 to Midvale, Idaho. Expect a few areas with steep grades and also a limited shoulder width as the ride follows next to the Weiser River. At first, there is interesting rock formations while riding through a small canyon, and then the scenery opens up to farm fields before reaching Midvale. So it sounds like it can be a difficult area to drive. So she passed on August 28th, 2022. So let's try this again. So September 14th, 2018, March 25th, 2019. Haley King is August 28th, 2020, which is a little less than 2 years. Because if it was September of 2020, that would make it 2 years, so a little less. So here we have Haley Marie King, October 8th, 1999. August 28th, 2020, 20 years old, of Kuna. Left this earth way too soon on August 28th, 2020. She graduated from Kuna High School with honors. After high school, she went on to study animal and veterinary science at the University of Idaho. She enjoyed all aspects of agriculture and helping her farming community. Haley was a member of the FFA and a sister of Delta Gamma. She enjoyed playing soccer from a young age and played all through high school, where she made lifelong relationships. Haley's survived by her dad, Dave, mother Kath, brother Travis, and sister Tiana. Grandfather. So here is a post for her, August 31st, 2020. So a few days after. Our hearts are deeply hurting for the loss of our sister. We are sending our thoughts and prayers to her family, friends, and all who loved her. There is no way to describe the amount of joy Haley has brought into each of our lives. She had an ability to love unconditionally and was able to create sunshine everywhere she went. She was someone who exemplified what it meant to be a Delta Gamma at its most simplest aspects, kindness. Till we get to see those blue eyes again, give heaven some hell. Red Heart. There are some who bring a light so great to the world that even after they have gone, the light remains. And here Kaylee and Maddie both like the post. So now, in regards to Kaylee and Maddie, they started at the University of Idaho in 2019. So now Haley has passed. And they may have known about Max. So that's 2. I'm going to say probably not, because they would start in the fall of 2019. This is the beginning of 2019. But I'm sure they may have heard because of the fraternity he is involved with, and Kaylee, her boyfriend Jack DeCoeur, was in that fraternity. And now we know about Max and his brother and the shadiness around that. And Adam being in that fraternity too definitely gives a different picture. So here is Kind Like King, and Kaylee follows it. It's a memorial for Haley King, Kind Like King, leaving pieces of Haley everywhere we go, spreading kindness and smiles in her memory. So you paint some rocks and then you drop them at wherever you threw out, which I like that idea, as long as it's appropriate. So here she writes, November 17th, 2019 at 3:22 p.m. Show Dad the SCO for real this time. And here you see 1122. And she's taking a picture in front of this area. which is kind of an interesting choice because it's not the water tower. And just for reference, how that peaked out, I'm going to say it's around this area. Because here's the bend, Willenta Drive, and that brown house or structure. It almost looks like businesses there. Oh, so maybe it's even further here. Nope, sorry, I was right. The brown here, the curve here. So in this area. So yeah, it's brown in 2019, and here it's white. So this is King Road. Queen. That makes more sense. King, and then go to Queen. So we'll look at Haley's social here real quickly just to get a sense. All right, so here she is. I'm not going to go through each one because with the way this site is, every ad pops up every time you move. So I wanted to show this. Here's the black eye that they were talking about. Here's the cow, so involved with agriculture. Here she is at DG. Morgan Wallen at the university. We are aware of these areas here. Game day. Sticking the tongue out. Sticking the tongue out. See here, I find this not as much as when they fully stick it out. Here you can tell she's trying to be playful. And we just saw this one recently with the 1122. First, I love these scruffy dogs. They look like old men. Cutie patoots. On the farm, cattle. Some more sticking tongues out. Sticking the tongue out. Sticking it out. Really, the first one with the boy. There you go. Cute girl. Lord knows I could use some light to get where I'm going. That's pretty heavy. Lord knows I could use some light to get where I'm going. That sounds heavy to me. It'll be interesting to know when she posted that, because it kind of gives me the same feel with Kaylee and Maddie with their posts that say, you know, who are you when no one's looking? See the good. Or notice those who make you feel good when being around them. You know, it gives a little heaviness. And I don't really recognize any of these names that are connected to the 4 victims at this point. So here we have Emma Mills. September 3rd, 1998 to January 1st, 2022. 1 and 3 2s. So now we have Katherine, 2018, Max, 2019, Haley in 2020. We don't have 2021 at this time. Emma is January 1st, 2022. And then Richards would be after her. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 deaths before we get to the 4 victims of 1122. Doesn't that just blow your mind? 5. So we're almost at 2 hours. We may be able to do them all. It's going in a better flow than I thought it was going to. So let's look back. Car accident, she gets rammed by a white Dodge SUV. Am I correct? I'm trying to think back. A white Dodge Durango in 2018. Then we have Max of 2019. We don't know the year he was born. We just know that it's in August because of Beta and how it reflected the founding fathers, which sounds creepy as fuck. Not only that, his brother is in that fraternity, as well as his dad, so you have that legacy. His dad was involved in the fraternity. We are told it's a suicide, even though we can't find his date of birth or an obituary. What little information we found sounded pretty sus. No date of birth, but having him die at the University of Idaho on Nez Perce Road. He has a brother with all those knives, and that's the first time I've seen a Insta where any of the members of a fraternity or a sorority have all those knives and still has them up. It could be because he's simply not guilty. He's innocent. He has nothing to hide. Or it's something that's hidden in plain sight. Or eyes wide shut more is the more appropriate. Eyes wide shut. He was there. We can assume he was there at the time of November 13th, 2022, and he just graduated now. We were told those wounds were from a sharp-edged blade, and we saw some sharp-edged blades with gaping wounds, which we see those hatchets. But on the other end, he could be just selling them. Hasn't sold them yet. They seem more like they're on display, as he's a collector, and he's got friends that agree they are collectors as well with their comments. And Cole Elliott, that name has been floating around, who may have some connections to that night. We have Haley King, who is in another car accident. It's another car accident. She leaves her sorority house and she ends up in a car accident, overcompensating, and rolls over. And this is 2020, so it's COVID. Was she visiting the sorority? Because it says here, she was there. Before departing on a trip home, Haley King said goodbye and hugged her friend on Delta Gamma's front lawn. It doesn't give us a time like the others. So here we have Moscow, because they said that she was at the front lawn of her sorority. But look how far it is of a drive to this Cambridge Midvale area. So here's Moscow, and here's this area. So here, just Moscow to Midvale is almost 4 hours. So that is a drive. So she could have fallen asleep, because we're not given a time of what time it happened. There's not much information when I put in, car accident in this area. Let me double check though, because things change. All right, so the other source that I found was Kuna woman 20 dies after car crash on US Highway 95. Updated August 29th, 2020 at 10:55 a.m. This is the Idaho Statesman. Here, a 20-year-old woman died at St. Alphanus in Boise after being transported from an August 22nd single vehicle car crash on US Highway 95, according to ISP. Haley King of Kuna was driving a 1995 Toyota 4Runner northbound on US Highway 95 at Shoepeg Road between Midvale and Cambridge when she drove off the right shoulder of the roadway, overcorrected into oncoming traffic, and overcorrected again. The 4Runner rolled and came to rest in the northbound lane of travel. She was transported to the hospital where she died Friday. She was wearing a seatbelt. Next of kin has been notified. The crash is under investigation by ISP. So it said it was updated at 10:55, but then it was originally published at 10:45. So with this being said, it could just be an accident. It's just because seeing the distance of how far it is from Moscow, it's about 4 hours. I don't even know how close she was to her home. It said she's from Kuna. So it's 5.5 hours. That is a long drive, especially when you've been under pretty much lockdown for that long, and then all of a sudden you're back into doing just everyday things. It was definitely an adjustment. So some of these could just be accidents. Just accidents happen. It's just the point of it's happening to these people in one particular space. And some of that could be the amount of distance you have to cover with driving. And it seems like there's a lot of accidents in Idaho. I haven't looked into the statistics of that, but it could just be the way the roads are. They're windy, they're hilly, and that can cause natural accidents to happen. Here, where I live, and we go up to the mountains, it's definitely an adjustment. If you're not used to driving in those hills, and if you're going too fast and not paying attention, absolutely. Absolutely. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to stop here, because Emma Mills, she's part of Alpha Phi. She is there with Kaylee. And she is we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going in order. He has not passed at this time. We brought him into the equation because of Katherine. So 18, 19, 20. No 21 because of COVID thus far. And 22. January, he is July. 6 months apart. I'm going to stop here because what we've just learned about Max Fulfer and his brother Kai, I want to look into that a little bit more. And that way we can see if there's any other connections when we do part 2. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you like how I presented this. It was a little choppy at times because it's just so much. I did the best that I could with the resources I have. But now I've done a full run through. The other one's going to be a bit smoother. And with this one, I can always go back in the second one, come back and just do a better summary. And we'll take it from there. So I'll open up with a summary of what we just did in this one, part 1. And part 2 will continue up throughout 2022. And any other updates, including Kai Fulfer, because that fraternity, I wasn't really looking into them. I was looking into a different one. And this is one of the advantages of doing these videos that I believe with you all is because when you have to take the time and stop and look and read through, you slow down and you find more information. I want to thank you for being here. Let me know in the comments what you think. I may do the second one sooner than later. Until then, see you next time.
Oh, what you do?